For Lab 3, we're going to create a cabinet similar to the one we created in Lab 2. To do this, we will adjust some components that we've already created for Lab 2, and we'll also create some new components. So you can see here, it's essentially just a square cabinet of 600 by 600 millimeters, very similar in features to our cabinet from Lab 2. You can see here we have a similar door, the same hinges and pins, with the addition of a couple of shelves, which I'll show you guys how to make. So the first thing we'll do is open up our cabinet shell from Lab 2. So navigate to your Lab 2 folder, open up the cabinet shell, and we're going to adjust the original sketch here for our boss extrude, sketch 1. We'll edit that sketch so that the profile of this new shell is 600 by 600 millimeters. Okay. The next thing we'll do is edit our linear pattern, which will adjust the shelf holes on the inside of the cabinet. So right click linear pattern, click edit feature, and select your spacing between holes to be 50 millimeters and your number of instances to be 8, and press OK. Now it's very important that as you were creating your Lab 2 sketches that you made all the references relative to the outside geometry of the shell. So for example, here you can see in my second cut that all my reference geometry is the outside of the cabinet shell. So you'll see here the 100 millimeters, the 30 millimeters, and the 25 millimeters, which aligns these holes here. That's all on the outside of my sketch. If I referenced this hole to this hole here, I'm going to have an error, or I'm going to have an issue when I redefine the profile of this shell, because they'll be related to each other and not the outside geometry, and as the outside geometry changes, it won't change the location of the holes. Okay? So if your sketch doesn't look like this, or if your resultant shell does not look like this, just make sure that you go back, check your sketches, and make sure that your geometry is referenced to the outside of the shell, not from each other. If you do that properly and all your sketches look the same as how mine did when I created Lab 2, you'll be fine when you get to this step. Once you get to here and your shell looks like this, you'll see here 8 holes in the inside and all the holes for mounting the hinge. Just save your file in your new directory for Lab 3 and save it as cabinet shell 2. We'll use different names for cabinet shell 1 and 2 because when we finally assemble the new assembly, which will have both cabinets in it, we'll want to know which cabinet is for Lab 2 and which cabinet is for Lab 3. So just say cabinet shell 2, which we'll know is the new square profile cabinet.